In the 1970s, 3 women met at a women's health collective in Vancouver. They joined consciousness-raising sessions, sharing their experiences of what it was like growing up as a woman in the world. And one thing they noticed was how common it was for women in the group to open up about experiencing physical or sexual assault from their boyfriends, their husbands, their friends, their fathers, their family doctor, and the list goes on. And the 3 women were shocked to realize that despite this problem being so widespread, there were no resources available to respond to these women's needs. Their need for support, for safety and validation that what had happened to them was wrong. So it was through the grit and nerve and hard work of these 3 women that Vancouver Rape Relief opened in 1973, right in the midst of the first feminist uprising. We are the oldest rape crisis center in Canada. We respond to about 1,200 new calls a year, and we house 120 women and their children every year. So what started as women taking crisis calls from their home phones at all hours and advising battered women from their basements has evolved into so much more 43 years later. And we're still evolving. That's where you all come in. The heart and soul of Vancouver Rape Relief has always been its volunteers. It is because of continued volunteer support that our crisis line has run 24 hours since the beginning. We also would not have a transition house without the fundraising efforts of volunteers earlier on. Our funding alliance group started out as the House Funding Committee. So they were a group of men who pledged to do their part in ending male violence against women, and they used their privilege as men in the world to start a fund to buy a house in Vancouver that could be a safe place for women and their children. Because we get such little funding from the government, fundraising events such as our annual walkathon, our annual bowl-a-thon. Oh, this is the walkathon poster. It's from the past. You can see 1986. Just thought it'd be cool to include. And this is our upcoming walkathon, May 28, 2017. We also have our bowl-a-thon and our monthly tin can fundraising. So these ways are the main source of income to keep our crisis line operational. We also have quarterly house maintenance weekends, where a group of women scrub the entire transition house from top to bottom. This keeps our house well maintained for the women who live in it. We also organize a number of public education events and political rallies. We use them as a tool to address current events affecting women's liberation. So that's the Montreal Massacre Memorial schedule from last year. We have one every year. And some of the topics that we discuss, very interesting. We have some meetings on strategizing for the public inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women. Some rallies that we've attended. So there's no shortage of things to accomplish at Rape Relief, and because of that, we need all the help that we can get. I've been a collective member at Rape Relief for over a year, and in my time as a volunteer, I've learned practical knowledge and political theory. I've felt a sense of community in working with others to bring change, and I've gained the knowledge that the work I do makes a difference in women's lives. Just some more pictures from rallies. Now, what kind of volunteers are we looking for? Anyone and everyone. As long as you believe that male violence against women is wrong and you're willing to fight it, then we want you. And for the men, you need to be willing and ready to follow women's leadership. In a world where women are discouraged from being leaders, we like to have women in leadership roles, especially in the context of fighting for women's liberation. So all we ask from you is that you be committed, and contribute in whatever way that you can. Whatever you put into the organization, you will gain so much more in return. Volunteering in itself is so rewarding, but it feels so much more powerful when paired with a larger push for change. So on that note, I want to end with this quote from Nigerian author and feminist Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. "Culture does not make people, people make culture. If it is true that the full humanity of women is not our culture, then we can and must make it our culture. So I invite you to come speak to us later. If you feel like you'd like to get involved, you could also go to our website, call our crisis line to see how we can be involved in the organization. Thank you.